Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Limit Podcast. Matt Gibson here with Phil Hunt. Today, we're just going to sit down. We're going to talk about something I know Phil's passionate about, and I know that I love too. And that's some topwater fishing. So,
yeah,
it's getting that time of year everywhere, isn't it? Yeah,
it's time.
Yep, it sure is. Sure is. So, here in the Midwest here, it's turning out to be a challenging spring for us, but so things are a little bit later than what they are typically. But man, that topwater bite's turning on a little bit, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, it's time now, and it's but you're right though. All this unstable weather kind of messes the topwater bite up a little, and now I'm assuming like I'm going to be fishing all weekend. I've got a tourney coming up at the lake, like probably the biggest tourney of the year down there, and then it's off limits, and then there's like 2 official practice days, so I'm going to be on the water a lot, and I know I'm going to have one in my hand, and I won this same tourney 2 years ago, and throwing a walking bait when most guys weren't, and I had almost a 3-pound average, which is good for about any of the Indiana lakes.
Yep.
Yeah. I think a lot of guys don't realize how good an early bite there is. Like the buzzbait bite, sometimes when you get the right weather, they'll just crush a buzzbait when the water's in the 50s.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't. A lot of guys will throw a buzzer in the fall when it's in the 50s because they'll bite a buzzer till it gets really cold in the fall. But I know that I fished with some guys who start throwing one even earlier than I do. But I know there's a lot of really big fish caught like in early April and mid-April when the water's in the 50s.
Yeah. I think there's that big myth that, you hear water temperature 62, 65 degrees is when you start looking for topwater. Man, if you have some sunny days and some rising temperatures in the water, I mean, like you said, the big ones, they'll eat a topwater for sure.
Yeah, you've missed some of the big fish bites of the year by then. A lot of guys are just a little too late.
Yep.
And I don't know if you fish for money, that's good. But if you're a bait maker, that's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody buy topwater tonight because I'm telling you, it's time. And there's a lot of places in the country where like they throw them year round. Like look at Florida. Like I sell prop baits year round. I sell dog walkers. For some reason, prop baits are so regional, but like in California, I sell dog walkers year round. And I rarely ever sell a prop bait rarely goes to California. And I don't understand that because a fish is a fish. And I know, especially the lakes with tules, I've never fished in California, but I know other guys that do. And I know that those guys, they throw a lot of prop baits around tules. They buy them from me and they just keep it really quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of prop baits here in Indiana, even, I feel like it's a super underutilized bait. And for me anyways, when I'm starting off and kind of testing the waters for topwater, I know one of my favorites is a thin spin made by you. It's a great bait. I throw it, and what's great about it is you can fish it really.
You might throw that. You might show it again because I think you might have blacked out, and maybe it was just on my end. But yeah. And that bait is deadly before the spawn, during the spawn, and after the spawn. Like deadly. And like you said, guys in Indiana, for some reason, a lot of the older guys do, but I rarely sell a prop bait to the young guys. I mean, I don't get it. Like they don't realize how much they're missing out, do they?
Yeah, and it's not, it can be a numbers game, but for me, it's like big fish eat this thing early, and you have to really, really just slow it down. And what I do is I throw it out there, and I throw it on about a 7-foot medium heavy action rod somewhere in there. 14-pound mono is what I use. And what I do is I pull it and I wait for all the ripples to dissipate, and then I pull it again. So it can be painfully slow, but man, those big ones will just come up and just eat that thing, won't they?
Yeah. And that bait rolls really good as you twitch it. The way I worked with, and Terry Scroggins is not on my staff, we're friends, but Terry had a lot to do with that bait, and he wanted one that rolled and had a little better finish than another bait that looks just like that's been around for years and years, and we've all caught a lot of fish on it. We just wanted like an improved version, and we played around, with the thickness, and we did away with a lot of that hardware on the belly that helps keep it from rolling, and got just a screw eye. So the less weight you got on the belly, the more it's going to roll when you twitch it. You get the little torque from the props. So I played around with that a long time to get it how it is, and it actually throws good, doesn't it? I mean, you can throw it a long way.
Yeah, you sure can.
And it's not a balsa bait. Before people think, it's not balsa.
Yeah,
it's wood, but it's not balsa.
Right. Yep. And this is in the old school series, so it's in that $12, $15 range. Great bait. Great finish on it. Just a really good season starter for me in Topwaters.
Yeah, like the Florida guys. I would say the bulk of those prop baits I sell go to Florida or Louisiana, Mississippi. I sell a lot of them to guys like in South Georgia and guys that fish Seminole and Eufaula and stuff. I guess prop bait fishing might be kind of big there with a lot of the guys. And like in Florida, it's hard to sell anything but two colors. They all want gold foil with an orange throat, or they want silver foil with an orange belly. And they both have a black back. But my favorite, and something that Roland Martin told me one time, we were eating dinner. He told me that even in Florida, he had caught more big fish on a rogue style. He called it a rogue style bait or a prop bait on pearl white with black back, black ribs. He told me that was his favorite, and as for big fish. And I saw a couple videos he's did in the last 2 or 3 years throwing a bait that color. I don't know if they were mine or whoever's that they were. I don't know. But my favorite is our yellow jacket color, which is a yellow bait that has the black ribs, black back, and a red throat. And I just know there's something about, particularly in the Midwest, around the spawn, those fish are suckers for a yellow-bellied prop bait. And like frog with the yellow belly, greenback, frog spots in the yellow belly is really, really good.
Yep, and it seems like an orange throat too. Orange throat is really key as well.
Yeah. They like them bright color. I think it's got something to do with the bluegills, maybe, that the bluegills harass them and stuff, you think, maybe?
Yeah. I think they're maybe doing a little guarding there. So.
Yeah, just color pisses them off, so.
Yep, it gets them going for sure.
But you can't sell a yellow jacket in Florida very good, I can tell you that. Because they don't want to buy it down there. It's all silver foil, gold foil, or I know there's a color called, was it raped ape or something like that, and it's the stupidest looking color you ever saw. It's an actual devil's horse color, and the guys in the know down there are wild over that raped ape or whatever they call it. So
yeah. It's interesting regional colors for sure, and how some sell really well and others don't. But kind of progressing through the year, and I know that you and I fished these a little bit last week. Obviously, we did videos that we released on it, but it's the VW wake bait. I know that's a favorite of yours, Phil.
Yeah, for sure. The VW and the wake up, and the wake up is a little more expensive bait. I built it for Buckeye, and they didn't want it. They didn't want to sell balsa baits anymore. They kind of just wanted to continue on all the lead-based baits and all that stuff, jig heads and things like that, and their underspins. And so I acquired it from them, and I still make it, and I sell a lot. I mean, like, it's like so out of whack how many wake ups versus VWs that I sell. The VW is a little bit cheaper. It's in the old school line, a little cheaper price point, $3 or $4 or $5, maybe $5, I think. Yeah. But myself, I throw, and this is probably bad business, I throw the VW exclusively. I have 7 or 8 wake ups in the boat, but I rarely throw them. I sell the wake up to a lot of really, really big name pros. And there was one really big name pro that was throwing it. Was it Lake Palestine when the championship, the Red Crest or wherever was on there in Texas 2 or 3, was that the lake 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And the guy that won was throwing a big crankbait. Wasn't he also throwing a hair jig? And then he was throwing our wake up wake bait and got a ton of exposure. And he just said it was a handmade wake bait because of his contract with another major company. But everybody knew, and I sold like hundreds of them. But they're a fun bait to fish. I mean, and they get a lot of really big bites.
Yeah, and and I was surprised at how aggressive the fish were towards it when you and I fished, and
Mm-hmm.
then even the next day when I fished a little bit more. And that's a as far as the topwater goes. I mean, that's a hard one to kind of mess up. I mean, you throw it out there and you reel it in. That's about it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, a guy needs to throw it on mono. I
Yeah.
normally throw it on 15-pound big game, just cheap big game mono. It's as good a mono as you can buy, or I'll throw it on like 30-pound braid, and that's the key with it. And then just kind of wind it just enough to get it. Not only does the not the VW actually rolls more than the wake up does. They're both
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal baits. They both get a lot of bites, but the VW has more of a roll in it. And you just wind it most of the time just enough to get it to wobble is what they want, seems like, and the problem is, like, you probably would have won your kayak tourney like hands down if you could have hooked up with them the day
Yeah.
before they ate it, and then the day of your event a lot of them missed it, didn't they?
Yeah. Yep. A lot of misses on it, but
A lot of east
conditions.
wind, they still
Yeah.
hit it, but they weren't eating it.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't want it near them, but they were definitely pushing it away from them. That's for sure.
Right. It's a fun bait. It's a short window, kind of. I think, and like right now, like in Kentucky and Tennessee, like, and I know maybe some guys will see this and they have wake ups ordered, and we're trying to get them out. I had a struggle with lips for a little bit. I just got lips. I think we have, I don't know, 200 or 300 that are done now. They'll get shipped, but that doesn't even begin to fill the orders that I have for those. So I appreciate everybody being patient. We're trying to get them out because I know that in some places maybe that window's already passed. But like where a lot of them are going right now is the guys fishing the shad spawn, like at Lake Cumberland and Del Hollow, Laurel, Smith Mountain. And what they do is they get up there parallel and they wind that wake up at night, or that VW. They wind it at night around the shad spawn, and they're catching, spots, smallmouth, largemouth, big walleyes at night on the shad spawn, and stripers. So I know a lot of them, believe it or not, even though they don't rattle, they don't blast, they don't do, the guys are night fishing with them.
Yeah, it is. When you throw it out there and you wind that thing and you slow wind it, because it doesn't look like it's going to do much. Like, it's kind of almost like a do nothing profile. Like there's not much
but
to it.
It does a bunch, doesn't it?
When you start winding that thing, and you see
Yeah.
that big V and how that thing's wobbling
Yeah.
back and forth, and that bill angle on that thing is crazy. And
Yeah.
it catches a lot of water.
Yeah, and I'm going to make a bold statement here, and I might get crucified, so fire away. I don't care. They do not make a plastic wake bait that does what those wooden wake baits do. Whether it's mine or somebody that builds them and sells them on Woodbait Nation or wherever, wood plastic baits do not even remotely come close to. They make a wake, a V on the water, but there's nowhere. I don't care. I've got high end ones, plastic ones. I throw the plastic ones sometimes. But when you throw a good wooden wake bait versus a plastic one, you're going to see that's one bait that you're going to see a huge difference in. Maybe like of all the bait categories, the difference in the wooden wake baits versus the plastic or the resin ones is night and day difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. And I have a big wake bait here that I also throw around this time of year, and it's a plastic bait. And you're exactly right. This has a nice wobble to it. But man, your wake bait just kills it, and the way it rolls, it looks super natural coming through the water.
Yeah, I make, and I think you may have one. I make some big shad shaped resin ones, like big baits that are wake baits, and they do wake, but all they do is they come at you and they wobble and make a wake. Or at least both of mine, those wooden wake baits, not only do they wobble, they roll. They're like night and day difference. And like I said, of all the bait categories, I think the biggest difference between plastic and wood probably comes in the wake baits. Just my opinion.
Yep. I agree.
And I'll probably get shot for that, won't I? Somebody will have to tell me how I'm wrong, and that's cool. I mean, everybody's got their opinion.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of guys look for kind of, they start looking for that more dog walker or a big topwater bite kind of later in the summer. But man, right now is an underrated time to get out there and throw one too. And I know, you have one there that you've done a soft release on, but you haven't fully got it out there yet. And, I know you're really excited to show that one off too.
Yeah, I just I kicked around I did it for myself. I never really wanted to sell it because I've always been a huge fan of a Zara spook, an original Zara spook, and what I do with those, and I can do them for guys. If guys want to call me, send them to me. I can do this to your original spooks. I take original spooks, take all the hardware off. I've been doing this forever. I have a really great friend named Freddie Felix, outstanding fisherman here. He doesn't even fish tourneys anymore. He just fun fishes now. But him and I were 25, 30 years ago, we would take these spooks and we would drill a little hole in the top of the head and we would put some split shot in there, like or buckshot, like number 7 buckshot. We'd cut open a shotgun shell, put 4 or 5 in there. So you get just this little ticking sound. And then we would put 3 hooks on an original spook, take all that hardware off, put the 3rd hook in there, epoxy it, and then it would let you throw short 4s on there. And 3 short 4s hooks them way better than 2 big number 2s like came with them. But now I've got if you can see it here, I've got a wooden version, and it's just exactly like a Zara spook. It might be just a hair fatter with all the clear that goes on it. This one's got 3 long 4s on it, and the way it's spaced, I think it's the back hook sometimes will tangle with the front, but I rarely have that happen. But I'm going to tell you something about this. This is not balsa, it's wood. It's much, much quieter than any of the wood baits, and being much quieter is not always the way I get it. I throw a 1-knock sexy dog a lot.
Yeah.
But the way this is made, it's all tail weighted, and I'm going to tell you, like, if you like, I throw them on 30-pound braid, usually 30 or 40, and I've got backing on there, so I don't have to put so much braid on. And if I'm not careful, I can throw the knot out of the reel. Like, this thing throws incredibly good, like better than an original Zara spook. It's wood, it's heavier, it's still really balsa. And one thing that I think about these wooden baits, and you can chime in here. So, I would love to hear in the comments what guys think. But this is one thing I know for a fact. Like, you hear that bait? It ain't making much noise. I don't think I have a plastic one.
Right,
I don't have a plastic one laying here.
You hear it?
Is that the plastic one?
Yeah.
Well, listen to this. This has got the hooks on it.
Yep.
Plastic and metal hitting is much, much, much louder than metal hitting the wood. And I think where this comes in, and I had a guy call me today from San Diego and was wanting some walking peas, which is one I got made out of balsa. This is not balsa, but this is wood. I also make balsa ones, but he was telling me how that he's won a bunch of events catching them behind guys throwing the plastic walkers when like he said, them spotted bass get so pressured out there that they get turned off to that anything with much noise. But he's like, I can go behind them and throw your walking pea and catch those big spots. He said it'll come up out of that deep water because they're shy of that loud, the hooks hitting the plastics. And he said it's so quiet, he thinks that they fool them because they're burned out of the noise. And I know there's a lot of days, especially when the water's slick, when a lot of times I'll have like, like I normally throw a sexy dog, a Strike King sexy dog hard knock. That's the one I like.
Yep.
Or I like an original Zara spook. Sometimes I'll throw like a super spook, bigger bait, 3 hooks. But I normally have a wood one on when it's a dog walker bite. I have a quiet one on, and then I have that hard knock. And it's amazing how many days they show a preference for the wooden model. Not always. When there's a chop on the water, I noticed. I fished with the guy the other night, and I threw the wooden one a lot, and he threw a sexy dog, a hard knock. And there was a pretty good chop. It was actually kind of hard to walk the dog, but he got more bites than I did on the hard knock that night. And I think it's just because they know it's up there better.
Yeah. So this is kind of a different bait category, but kind of the same. It's kind of a pencil style bait. This is the I'm a Big Stick. And
awesome bait, isn't it?
Awesome bait. Great
bait. It is
bait.
an awesome bait.
And I love this thing in the river, and that's what I was knocking around was this bait. And it's funny you mentioned that, Phil. Like in the river, even with a lot of current, this can still attract them. But there are times when this is just too much, to your point, and
Right.
that's when I go to like the W dog. That's one of my favorite walking baits right there that you make.
And that one's actually balsa.
Yeah, and
the
it's
W
funny,
dog's actually balsa.
and it's funny because there are definitely times even with cantankerous, you know how smallmouth can get stubborn in a river. There are times where I'll get more bites on something big and gaudy like this Ima, but I'll get bigger fish
on the quieter bait,
on the W bait. Yeah, on a true balsa. And you're right. I mean, this is whisper quiet.
You can't even hear it. And when you shake that Ima, I can hear it really good on my end, and you can't hear the balsa dog walker at all. And that one in your hand, that W dog, that's like less than $15. It's in our old school baits line on the same PH Custom Lure website, but it's just super, super quiet. And that one is kind of banana shaped, similar to the old Itchy Bonds, kind of, you know, sort of. And it kind of bounces as it walks too. So it has a lot of action.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I really hate to say this, but when we started this podcast, we said we were going to talk freely and make sure that we're open to everybody. I hate to say it, but this right here on the White River is one of my favorite topwater baits for smallmouth.
Right.
I've caught multiple 20-inch smallmouth on this thing, and it is just really, really good in those hot summer months when after those fish have been chased a little bit. Man, you can really do some damage with this bait. And what's interesting about this bait, and I don't know that I've ever talked to you about this, but it's a fairly good sized bait, and it has 2 hooks on it.
Right.
But man, those fish don't come off on this thing.
Yeah, they're big hooks. They're number 2 VMCs.
Yeah.
And when you hook them, you can pretty much winch them into the boat.
A super underrated bait there, and man, it is a great unique walking bait. Super easy to walk. Typically, when I'm in the river, I throw this on 30-pound braid. That's simply what I throw that on.
You tie a loop knot when you throw them?
You know what? You made fun of me a few years ago for not being able to tie a loop knot. I still haven't learned how to tie a loop knot, but I think with where you have your tie right here, I think that a Palmer does okay, but or a Palomar, but I should learn the loop knot. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know that I think they're probably not as strong as a regular. But I like them to be free, and I don't know that I've ever broke a fish off in the knot on a loop knot, because normally when I'm throwing all of those baits, it's a softer tipped rod, and I think it's just harder for the fish to. Yeah. You can't get enough torque on it to break it because the rod's flexing instead of stretching the line, you know. But I think that they have. I honestly think that with the loop knot that they have a little more roll and a little more action, and maybe that's all in my head. But you got to be careful if you tie a loop knot. Some of these baits, in order to get 3 hooks or to balance them right, you know, they got the front hook is kind of close to the front end, like especially with prop baits and stuff. And you got to be real careful. You don't want to tie a big loop in there, because then it'll get around the front hook a lot. And that's another thing we ought to touch on since we're kind of there, is prop baits are notorious for the line getting around the front prop. That's just part of it. Yep. And there's lots of different ways to fix that. Some guys will throw them with braid, and they'll put like 4 or 5 bobber stoppers on the line in front. And I've seen Bill Lowen do that a lot. And that does not affect the action or how many bites you get. I don't care if you've got 4 or 5 red bobber stops up there. They still eat it. I don't think that makes any difference. And a lot of times what I do is I'll throw them on 30 or 40-pound braid, and then I tie an FG knot with 20-pound gamma fluorocarbon. I use the gamma edge. I'll tie have like a foot or 16-inch leader of 20-pound fluorocarbon, and I'll tie that to the bait, and that's much stiffer. The reason you use the 20 is it's stiffer. And I know guys that use 25, and then that'll eliminate a lot of that. And then every once in a while, you'll get it around the prop, and then the line's bent like that, kinked, and you'll have to retie. But both of those tricks will kind of help you to stop that.
Yep. No, that's a great tip, and that's probably one we should have stopped on. But yeah, something with me throwing it on mono, and I don't use the bobber stops or anything like that. But as soon as you get that thing hung, that first prop, it's always that first prop. As soon as you
Right.
hang that thing, you have to cut it and then retie is what I
Because
do.
it'll keep doing it, won't it? It'll just get worse and worse, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and that's something. And
It'll do it like 3 out of 4 times, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden it just does it
it's
every time.
frustrating.
It
It's
is.
frustrating, isn't it?
It
I
is.
used to throw the old wood choppers. Remember those? They had
Yep.
those big wood chopper blades, like a lot of the big peacock bass lures have now. And that wood chopper, man, it was like horrible. It was a wooden bait, but it would get around that blade. And then those blades were really sharp. They would actually cut your line sometimes. You'd get them around there and get a fish on, or you'd be fighting a fish, and it would get against that front prop, and they would cut your line just like a knife. But I'm going to tell you, for the older guys who know what one is, when there was a lot of chop and it was rough, that wood chopper was a great bait. And I don't
Yeah.
even know if they even make them anymore.
I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah, it was an awesome bait. There was nothing out there just quite like it.
Yep. Yep. I
Yep.
know. I know. Probably my favorite top water is probably a buzzbait, personally. And there's a lot of great buzz baits out there. For me personally, I've said it on here a few times. For me personally, in a kayak, I have to be somewhat careful of all the tackle that I take. So I've kind of narrowed it down, and I'm anxious to get your thoughts on this too, Phil. I've narrowed it down to a 1/4 ounce, and that's what I throw about 95% of the time is a 1/4 ounce. And I'm a
Right.
little bit old school with it. I keep a skirt on it, and
Yeah.
I don't do a trailer hook, and I really rarely put any sort of soft plastic on there.
Yeah. I throw my custom buzz that you got in your hand. Uh, I throw it. I almost always throw a trailer hook.
Yeah,
Like I've just missed so many bites and turnies. I've seen times when one more fish you won. I
yeah,
almost always throw a trailer hook, but then you got to be willing to put up with, if you're throwing it over a lot of trash on the water, it does get hung up more. And you're right. I like to throw a skirted one with nothing behind it, but I make an inline buzz bait, which is quite a bit different than most of the stuff out there. We did it for skip, and it has a big blade. It's a 1/4 ounce head, but a big blade. Now
big blade.
I throw it with a tube. Actually, we sell it with no skirt, and I throw I throw it with a tube. I have thrown it with a tube in the fall a lot. A smoked silver flake,
Mhm.
but I throw I usually throw a gurgle toad or something on it. But I don't know what your thoughts about this are. I've noticed, like, when I'm throwing a buzzbait with a toad, it seems like I miss more bites, especially if I put a horny toad on it. That's a pretty big bait. And I'm not saying I miss them all, because they get a lot of bites, those toads on them. And they definitely skip better. Like the inline
Mhm.
one I made is called a toad packer. I think I finished 6th or 7th in a super tourney down in Kentucky a couple years ago. And I was skipping it. It was in the fall. I was skipping it under docks, and almost every fish I caught, the buzzer was so far into the dock you couldn't see the bite. I would just hear it and feel it. And even a regular buzzbait with a toad will skip, but it doesn't skip like that inline buzzer. That inline buzzer is awesome for skipping. So what I think what I'm fixing to come out with is, I've talked to a bunch of guys about this, is I don't know if they miss toad bites because it's so bulky, but I'm kind of working on a different kind of toad that won't be quite so bulky and so much for them to get in their mouth, or blow away.
Yeah.
I don't want so much of the body like hanging out past the hook. I really would like the hook to end between the legs. And I know, like, if you throw a Gurgle Toad Junior, that's easy to accomplish because it's a shorter
Mhm.
body. But I want something like that, and kind of horny toad legs, but on a different body style. So that's something that I'm kind of playing around with to see if I can get a toad style bait that they bite really good. And this will be something just for a buzz bait, and maybe not miss so many. See if the hookup ratio is better.
Yeah, and I will say that, yeah, I've seen the same thing, Phil. Like with those toads, it seems like you get a lot of blow ups, or I don't know if they're nipping the
Hmm.
tail. I don't know if they're just missing it. But something that I've messed
Yeah.
with in the last few years is actually putting a crawl on there, and that crawl seems to be better. you kind of get that same effect, but the
Yeah.
legs of the crawl stay much closer to the hook. I have had some success doing that, but by far, and it's not just because you're here. I tell everybody this: my favorite buzzbait is the Ruckus Buzz, made by you, and it's a pretty unique little buzzbait because if I'm in a river situation or in a situation where I need a clacker or
Right.
need more noise, the blade hits the head,
Right.
and acts as a clacker. Same difference.
Right.
And then
then guys, go ahead.
If I want it to be silent, you bend the hook out and it's still
right. That's what I was going to touch on. It's important guys know that they can adjust it how they like it.
Yep.
Lots of clack or no clack, and I don't know. Go ahead.
And it's got a really short arm on it too, which I really like.
Right. It's pretty weedless, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think the blade deflects stuff off the hook some. And then the way I think you and I have talked about this before is I don't throw it a lot with that knock on the head. I like to tune it, and then every fish you'll got to retune it. You'll have to retune it. But have you noticed how you can take it and you can fix it, especially the 1/4 ounce, so it makes a little chirping sound. It's not really a clack; it's like a chirp, and that's the way I've caught them the best. And without us going to the lake and recording what one sounds like, you can make it this little chirp where the blade barely is hitting the head, and it seems to me like they are suckers for that one.
Or something I really like to do too is I like to get that blade to where it's close to the head, but it's not touching the head.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I pull it real hard, like if I get caught up on something or pulling it through weeds, because I actually throw this through weeds a lot.
Yeah.
And when I really pull it real hard and it settles down, it actually hits the head and clacks.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of adjustability with this, and the head design's really unique too, and the plane's really quick, which I personally love in a buzzbait. I hate throwing a buzzbait out there and cranking that thing, and it's 4 or 5 handle links until it comes up on top of the water. This really planes really well, and it's got a nice hand tied skirt.
Right.
Great product.
Yeah. We sell a lot of them, and that's one thing is that I've never ever promoted or done any marketing on the buzzers. We just sell a lot of those. I know Tackle Warehouse has them on weekly on almost every order. There's always buzz baits on there, and the buzz baits do catch a bigger than average fish, I think.
Yeah.
I think like I can't imagine that anybody fishing shallow water, like from the time the water got 55 all the way through the summer until it's too cold to get in the fall. I can't imagine that if a guy's fishing shallow water that he wouldn't have a buzzer tied on. I just don't know why you would ever go. If you don't like ours, like anybody's buzzer, like whatever brand you like, I can't imagine a guy would go fish without a buzzer. Like going to the Ohio River should be a sin not to have a buzzer on all the time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of places I grew up fishing that has a little bit of grass in it. It's nothing like you guys have down south, but like it has a little bit of grass in it. It has rocks, has logs. What's great about it is that buzzbait will come through all of that. And one of my good friends, Joe Gentry, I'm going to tell one of his secrets here. In some of the Atterbury lakes, some of those lakes get really grown up really bad with a lot of just a lot of weeds, gets choked up with weeds. You can actually run a buzzbait through that stuff, which amazes me. But you got to keep it moving, but they will come up and eat it. And for me, the setup on a buzzbait, I don't even own a white buzzbait. I only throw black buzzbaits. That's just something I've tuned in on. But black buzzbait, 14-pound mono is my favorite. I know guys that throw it on braid, and I feel like, man, I'm too antsy with that bait, and I know I'm going to pull it out of their mouth as soon as I see that strike. So that over the years, I've progressively got stiffer and stiffer rods that I've been using with things like that. Still has a nice tip where I can throw it, but has a lot of backbone, especially in the kayak as much as we're moving. Kind of what's your setup, Phil, for rod and reel and stuff like that?
Well, for years, I've thrown Powell has a rod It's a 755, and I think it's a composite rod. It's like a 7'5" medium heavy, but it has a good little bit of tip.
Yeah.
And I throw them on 16 or 20 pound gamma edge fluorocarbon. Like you said, I can't do the braid thing. I take it away from them.
Yeah.
That 755 POW rod, it's in their endurance line. It's a little bit softer, so I don't like the mono with it either because I think I have a lot of stretch. So
too soft.
Yeah, for me, I think with that rod, I can launch them a mile. It's still light enough that I can roll cast it going down the bank, and that fluorocarbon works good for me because I know and I wear those solar back glasses, and I use those moss green lens, and sometimes I think like I see them before they eat it, and it's a split second, but I see them a foot or two before they get on it, and I'm really bad, especially with braid, about taking it away. And I think that rod having a little more tip, I think I actually catch and land, more fish. It helps make up for my shortcomings as a buzzbait fisherman.
Yep.
It's really hard for me to wind until I feel them. It's really, really hard.
It is. It's terrible sometimes, and a lot of times, they'll come up and they'll hit that thing so hard too, and you're just anticipating that bite so much that it's really really tough. What colors do you typically throw? Are you a black guy, or you throwing white? You throwing a little bit of everything through the year?
I throw black and white the most, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I got on throwing bluegill colored skirts, like
Ooh.
Around the spawn. And then again, like one thing that I found that around docks, if I get on docks and I see a lot of them little bluegills floating around and they get that little chartreuse tip on their tail, is I've like maybe the best buzzbait fishing I've had the last 4 or 5 years has been when I know they're on bluegills, throwing like a watermelon candy or watermelon purple, watermelon red horny toad with the little chartreuse tips. And I've seen so many times when I could catch them better on that than any other color. I wish I would have got onto that sooner because, man, I've had some awesome days throwing a watermelon colored one with a little chartreuse on it.
Yeah.
And not a lot of guys do that. Not, at least where we live, everybody throws black or white for the most part.
It's one of every once in a while we'll see a guy out there throwing a pink one or some odd color, but man, not that often at all anymore.
I'm going to tell you, our toad packer with that horny toad or gurgle toad in that green or that watermelon color and the little chartreuse tips, it's so freaking deadly skipping it under docks. You'll skip it under that dock and you'll hear the buzzer and you'll just like, and I don't miss any of those because I can't see them. I just, you know what I mean? Like you don't know you got one until you feel it. So missing bites, I know is my fault a whole lot because we all fish with guys, and I've done it too. When you're fishing, and all you hear is zip zip, where that buzzbait's buzzing going by your head where they're missing bites.
Yep.
It's a fun bite to get on, isn't it?
Oh, buzzbait. To me, a buzzbait, I love frog fishing, and don't get me wrong. And last week's episode with Bobby Barrick was really eye opening to a lot of frog techniques.
Oh,
a lot of
he put on a clinic, didn't he?
He did. But
I never expected that either.
Yeah, it was great.
We're gonna have him on again soon, aren't we?
Yeah. We'll have to get a hold of him and get him back on and do part 2, maybe 3, 4, and 5. So
yeah,
just because we didn't even touch the iceberg, but to me, like frog fishing's great, but man, I love a buzzbait bite. That's like it for me.
Yeah.
And I grew up fishing one. I remember, gosh, it was probably the early 90s. It was the first time we started throwing buzzbaits, and my dad went up to Minnesota and was catching them up there on it. And he brought a bunch of them home by Northland. They make a really good buzzbait actually, and still around today. And then it was Lunker made a really good one too. But yeah, buzzbaits they're just phenomenal. A lot of fun. You can cover a lot of water with them. But I think for guys that are just getting into buzzbait fishing or having limited success with it, I think as anglers, and what we do is we go buy a lot of stuff and not even look at it on the shore. And you hit on it earlier. A lot of people want to throw this thing down a bank and just reel it straight in. But you got to hit angles with this thing too. Like short casts. I can't tell you how many times I've caught really big fish on a buzzbait on a cast that's no more than 20 or 30 feet. Like and that's a fairly short cast. And even 8, 10 foot cast where you pitch it in there. I know years ago one of the really hot things was actually pitching a buzzbait that nobody really talks about. But I think we just go down the bank too fast sometimes with the buzzbaits. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Yeah, the best buzzbait fisherman I've ever known, and I've fished with him. And unfortunately, he passed away from during COVID. And he was a great guy, and not nowhere nearly old enough that he even think about passing away. And I don't know that he ever made a cast with the buzzer. He could pitch it left-handed and reel with his right hand, and he would literally just go down the bank. Rarely got it more than 15 feet from the boat. He would go down the bank and he could make 5 casts to mine in year one, and he would hit everything really tight. And then he was literally just pitching, reel it 10 feet, pitch it, reel it 10 feet. And this guy was really hard to handle with a buzzbait. And he threw a 1/4 ounce head a lot with the big size blade so he could wind it really slow.
Yeah, yeah. I love a 1/4 ounce buzzbait with an oversized blade. Now uh, the one I have here, that's I'd say that's probably slightly oversized for a 1/4 ounce because of the short arm. But
Right.
one thing you have to watch about doing that is you'll start ripping the bait around the blade if you go too big a blade. So
Right. Right. Have you ever noticed like most of the really good buzzbait fishermen I know, a lot of them fish it with their rod high because they're trying to reel it really slow. But then on the opposite, I remember fishing tourneys in the fall where like over grass and stuff, where the faster you burned that buzzbait, the more bites you caught. And I don't know if anybody makes one. I really want to come out with this again. They used to have the old Floyd's buzzers, remember, and the Uncle Bucks from Bass Pro, and they were actually an inline buzzer. They had a totally different style blade. They had bucktail on them, 2 wire weed guards that stood up. I don't even own one now. I don't think to even show a picture, but they.
oh, he'll be back. He'll call back in. But yeah, so throwing buzz baits, man, excellent thing to do. Excellent opportunity to be able to cover some water, catch some really good fish, and have a really good day on the water. Phil mentioned it earlier. Throwing that when you see those bluegill in the shallows, and you see them up there, and they're super shallow, and they have those bright tails. One of my favorite ones, and it's a little prop bait that Phil actually makes. And it's got that little fluorescent tail on it. Man, when those bluegill are super shallow, and those bass are really feeding in and really eyeing in on bait. This little gill bait right here is really killer too. What's this one called, Phil? The little gill? Is that what this one's called?
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it?
It is. It's killer. And I was just talking about how you were saying with the buzzbait with that when those bluegill have those neon green tails and all that.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a bait that I like to throw around docks and things like that, especially in the early morning. Man, this thing gets bit, and a great little bait you
make. It's an awesome bait in the river for smallies. Like I grew up wading the Whitewater River here. Those prop baits in like July and August in the river when it gets low are so good for smallies. Like guys don't realize how good that is.
Yeah, like the tiny torpedo.
Yeah. And don't let me forget, as this goes on toward fall, I've got a new line of prop baits I'm fixing to come out with that I've caught a ton of fish in the fall. And because prop baits are really big in the fall again too for me. Like in the fall, I'm throwing a dog walker mostly and a prop bait, and like all through the TVA chain, like when they draw Kentucky Lake down, Like I have mashed them down there in like October, early November, fishing a big prop bait, like a 4 or 5 incher out over on gravel bars on the main river where there's stumps and stuff like that. They get up there on those big shad, and I just know that it's a deadly, deadly bait in the fall. And the old Johnny Rattlers were killer. You know, it's probably the loudest prop bait I ever threw. Has that big rattle. They were just, and I have about 50 of them. You know, in the package. I think I have a lifetime supply. You know, keep them out of the sunlight and stuff. And those Johnny Rattlers were deadly in the fall. And I don't know that a lot of guys, like I know they're big, like in the Ozarks, throwing prop baits in the fall, but it's probably like really underrated in the Midwest, isn't it? Not a lot of guys probably do that.
Yep. And I think you have a few of them there, don't you, to show?
Oh, yeah. If you want to show one now. This is a big size. It's a pretty big bait. Throws real easy. It's made out of wood, not balsa. It allows us to use screw eyes. Has nice big props on it. There's the bigger size. Here's the 3-inch size, which is like a really, really good smallmouth bait for wading the river. Like smallies all summer will eat that little bait. This one doesn't have props on it. Obviously, it's going to have 2 hooks. The first one that I held up has 3 hooks, if you can see it. It's going to be called the Sugar Series, and it's really similar to all the old cigar-shaped ones, like the Gilmore jumpers and stuff. But there's like I don't think I don't think they make the Gilmore jumpers. Or if they do, they're not readily available. And I have had so many guys, especially from Arkansas and Missouri, call me and say, "Hey, are you going to make those big cigar-shaped prop baits with bigger props and stuff?" So that's something that I'm going to come out with as the summertime goes on. Got some really cool old school colors with a lot of like silver flake on the sides, because you do get some of that flash in the sun. And you know, I think it's a perfect fit, and they'll be about a $15 wooden bait, you know, American made by hand. So I think that's probably like a really good price point.
Yep.
And they throw really good too. Like you could throw these big ones here. You can throw them on 20-pound mono all day long, and they cast really, really good.
Well, that's awesome.
And you know, I was thinking, like we was talking about buzzers, like when I was younger, and I don't know if you would ever see this ever again. Like I can't tell you how many buzzers like this, and this was back when we were tying like the old flat rubber, the old school type rubber, you know, for skirts. Is 2 of my favorite buzzbait colors was purple and then blue. Solid blue and solid purple on a buzzer will catch them. I mean, like really, and I don't know why. I don't even own one now. It's crazy how we get off on other stuff. And even like the prop baits in the fall, like one of the really good colors all through the TVA chain in the fall is a color they used to make called Old Blue. And it's literally like a royal blue colored prop bait, has a little light baby blue on the throat, and that's it. It's just blue. Has a little light blue sprayed around the eyes so the eye stands out, and a little on the throat. And I'm going to tell you that old blue color, when they're on the big gizzard shad in the fall, really catches them good. That's all forgotten stuff. It's all in the past. And I don't know if you can bring that back again or not. I don't know if guys would.
Yeah. I mean, Lee Lacey brought back pink, and he brought it back strong. So.
Yeah, no, I wish he didn't. So, but I'm going to tell you, for guys that throw buzzers a lot, try it. Go get you some kind of purple skirt. And the old purple rubber was more of a matte finished rubber purple. Throw a purple buzzbait. I'm going to tell you, and don't go out and throw it for an hour and say he's full of it. They don't bite it. That's baloney. Because I can't tell you, I've caught hundreds and hundreds of fish on a purple buzzer and a blue buzzbait. And normally I did it when the water was really clear too. They really like those 2 colors, or they did. Maybe the new age bass, maybe they don't bite that stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It's funny how different generations of fish do different things. And you've grown up fishing there at Brookville. You know, I grew up fishing on Kokomo, and it's weird how those fish just progressively move around and what they do and how their behavior changes, you know, in 10, 15 years. You can even see changes in 5 years that, man, those fish are doing something wildly different than what they used to.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I think the buzzbait will still work because there's a lot of guys in the know that throw a June bug color swim jig, and that's just purple with green flake. And they're winding it, keeping it within 6 inches of the surface. And I know there are a lot of guys who really know what they're talking about when it comes to swim jig fishing that throw a June bug color swim jig a lot. So I can't help but think if they eat that June bug swim jig, they would eat a purple buzzer,
100%. 100%.
I guess I'm showing my age, huh?
Well, Phil, wrapping this one up, another fun episode. Please go like, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Facebook if you're not. And we're continuing to grow the channel and do things. Like Phil said, we want to hear from you guys too. So comment on our videos, and we'll get back with you with any questions or show topics, guests, anything like that. We'd be really, really happy to hear from you. And Phil, I think that's a wrap on this one.
Please like and subscribe. And it's actually not easy to get professional guests all the time because you got the MPFL, which is going on this week. You've got the BPT and the elites, and you got guys fish Toyotas and Opens, and those guys are busy. Like, even though Bill Owens is my best friend, it's hard to catch up with him to do one because he's fishing 2 circuits. So he's not, you know what I mean? Those guys are gone a lot, and by the time they fish all day, come in and get their tackle ready, they don't want to do a podcast,
Yep, and I don't blame them.
Hey, real quick too, before you go, a walking popper, balsa wood. We didn't get that far. And then here's a bait that has won a lot of money, and I sell a lot. Is this prop bait with the metal blade? We've had it a long time. We'll do another show on that. I throw the plopper a lot in the fall. We'll do a part 2 of this and go through some of this other stuff.
Yeah, we'll dig a little further. We definitely left out like frogs and some other things. So, as always, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time. And please take somebody outdoors, take a kid, take your neighbor, get somebody out in the outdoors and enjoy it.
All right, thanks guys.